Hey, welcome to Coffee Connect, everybody. I'm Roddy. I'm the host. We're going to have some great conversations today. You're going to get a chance to meet some great people that are here in part of the group. We come from all different backgrounds, right? And we all have different goals in our lives and stuff at this point and stuff. So I find the diversity brings a lot of value to the table, right? That allows us to continue to help each other grow and learn and do some wonderful things and stuff. And so I'll tell you, if you enjoy the conversations and you want to continue to be invited back, right? Michelle, I've already added you. You asked you. I got that. I've already added you to that, right? If you want to be added to the invite list, though, I don't add anybody that doesn't want to be added, right? Just email me at ccinfo@addictedtoconnecting.com. I'm happy to add you, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn too as well, and I'm happy to add you to the invite list so you can continue to get the topics and stuff. You can always go back and look at www.addictedtoconnecting.com, our website, and get to our YouTube channel. So you can go back and review past lessons or previous discussions that we've had of interest to you, right? And so I would encourage you to do that as well, right? And so last week, we had our second round of leadership discussions that went from talking about the presence or the person you are in the room as a leader to the communication that we put across to people. Again, hopefully there were some great lessons that you guys took away. We're going to culminate this next week, actually, with our final week. Just happened to be after the week, after the 4th of July, right? That we're going to kind of talk about some of the lessons that we've learned about leadership and communication. And today we're going to go into decision making, right? And maybe how our forefathers or those that founded our company, right, may have struggled with some of this stuff as well, right, back then. And so looking for right, decision making, the leadership skill that shapes everything, right? You can be a great person, you can communicate some good things. And I've had people in my life, right, that just when it comes to making a decision, it is literally like pulling teeth. And can we all agree, like there are moments in our lives that we can't wait for that tooth to be pulled to be able to make a decision, right? Raise your hand if you've ever been around and maybe a glass has started to fall off the table, or somebody shot out in front of you in traffic, right? Or maybe it was an animal or something like that. I mean, we've all been in points of our life that decisions needed to be made, not 10 minutes from now or a half hour from now or 3 days from now. They need to be made now, right? And so we're going to talk about kind of the nuances between urgency of making decisions and maybe not making so much urgent decisions, right? That we have a plan of attack and things like that. Create some framework around that decision-making process, right? As well, maybe put this to exercise or this exercise to work for us today, right? Theodore Roosevelt said, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do,
the no thing,
is the no thing, right? The nothing at all, right? And so we all have this thing in our life that every day we're facing millions of decisions. We don't realize it, right? That maybe we're facing decisions, but we do, right? All of you at some point around 9:45 to 10 o'clock made a decision that you were going to hit the login button and join us this morning on Coffee Connect in hopes that maybe you were going to get some value out of this and it was going to far exceed the value you would have gotten maybe just sitting around doing nothing, right? And hopefully by the end of this, you'll realize it was the right thing, but it could have been maybe the wrong thing, right? And so breakout one is going to hit here real quick. We're going to go straight into this, right? I want you to think of a real decision that maybe you faced. Maybe it was your job search. Maybe it was leaving the company. Maybe it was something with your family. Maybe it was something critical with your work or something, right? I don't want you to. We don't need to go into the details of what it was. Just give the brief synopsis, but I want you to be able to answer some questions, right? Some brief questions as far as what made it feel like it was an urgent decision, or if it was not an urgent, what made it so that it wasn't, right? How did the time change, right? If it was urgent, did you feel pressure? What did you do to kind of discern what was the right thing or what was the wrong thing, or to shape your process around that, right? Uh, and then looking back, right, did you feel like, oh, that was a good decision, right? I made a good decision. Why did you feel that way? Or did you maybe feel like, man, oh man, I could have did that a whole lot different, right? I'll give you an instance here. Most of you know that I had my whole house replumbed in the last couple of weeks, right? On Sunday, there was one spot of drywall on the ceiling that I was finishing patching up. And listen, there was no rush, right? I had plenty, like it sat there for 2 weeks already. I had plenty of time that I could have engineered and figured out what to do with this drywall. But I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to figure this out. And the next thing I know, right, is either a screw that I was putting in or a screw that I was taking out that they had put in uh, to put some backing board in for the drywall, right? Uh, Hit my brand new PEX pipe, and the flooding commenced, right? Uh, Listen, I had decisions, right? At the end, I had to sit there and go, yeah, that wasn't such a smart idea, Rodney. Like, why was I rushing? Why was I like, and so hopefully I sat back, and I did right after I got the water cleaned up, so my wife wasn't going to be upset with me, right? And after I got all that done, I sat back. I said, "Man, how could I have done this differently? Right? What decisions could I have made?" Right? The first decision I came across, or option that I came across, was, well, the guy that I had do the big drywall work, I could have just paid him to do all the little drywall work too, right? Second decision is I could have waited till I had someone here to help me versus trying to hold piping up and put this stuff up all at the same time and things like that, right? And in the end, there was options that I could have came across, right? And I think that's what we need to look at from a decision making standpoint, is that sometimes we don't need to make decisions when it's urgent, but rather we can take our time doing it. Jeff, are you prepped? Are you ready?
How many people do you want in a room?
Three or four is fine.
Oh, I got to start over because I was doing two or three. Stand by.
That's fine too. wouldn't
Not anymore. I just closed that.
wouldn't matter. So screenshot this, guys. I would ask that you screenshot this, right, so that you guys know what the questions are when you're getting into the thing. I'll give you a minute here.
How long do you want the rooms?
We're gonna go for about 10 to 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Put it at 12.
12. All right. 11 minutes with a 1 minute timer. 1 minute count.
Somebody take notes, because when we come back, we're going to talk about what you guys figured out in your rooms. Like, what makes this so different? What is the processes that might be different around these two different types of scenarios of decision making? Jeff, you good?
I got two or three in a room.
All right. I'll see you guys back here in about 12 minutes. Introduce yourselves, talk about what we got to talk about, come back and share. What did you guys figure, right? I mean, urgent decisions and non-urgent decisions, they're different, right? There are some things that happen within the urgency that maybe doesn't happen in non-urgency, but there's a lot of it that's the same, right? The things that you need. What do you guys talk about in your rooms?
I'll share.
Perfect, Ray. Thank you.
So I was explaining to everyone that I typically haven't had any urgent decisions in a very long time, and it's because I meticulously plan and prep for everything, especially when it comes to my business. So all my heavy lifting is done between the hours of like 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. And everything else, once the day starts, it's kind of like decisions that don't affect anything. It's the employees or other people. And then as far as deadlines go, sometimes I'll get deadlines from other people, but most times they are imposed deadlines. And I try I meet 90% of them. And the few that are imposed on me, I usually get flexibility on those, especially in my business because I have a great reputation for handling things above board and doing things the right way. So that helps. Yeah, I try my best to stay away from decision fatigue,
Yeah.
and I don't let other people's problems become my problems. Not 90% of the time, I stay away from like someone pushing their problem onto me and throwing my day into chaos. I have too much going on to allow that to happen. So I'm very selective on what I take on from anyone. Doesn't matter if it's family, if it's a friend, or if it's business. I'm very selective with what I let disrupt my days. So
And I agree. Ray is a adjunct planner. He just plans life, right? But Ray, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to challenge you with this, right? Like, I'll go back to the simple scenarios. When's the last time you had someone cut you off in traffic? When's the last time you seen one of your children in a dangerous situation or fell off something or something like that, and you reacted as a father, right?
So my son took a real bad fall the other day, and my philosophy is I wait to see what happens. You know,
Yeah, I mean, there's still a decision process that's taking place there that maybe you don't feel like, oh, it's so urgent all the time, but it is, right? There are things out there that are just always going to be that's going to create some kind of urgency to us, right?
my
Uh,
my wife is the urgency person. I am very, yeah, he fell. I was like, let's see if he's bleeding. Something's busted open. I'll see how he reacts. It was a
yeah,
bad fall. He was fine, but it looked way worse than what it was.
yeah. What else? What else, guys? So we know planning can help eliminate or alleviate some of the urgency that comes about. But what else?
I have a
Um,
great example. Um, so my mom had surgery. One of my siblings didn't hold up to their part, as far as helping her and all this other stuff. So I hired someone to cook her meals and do all this other stuff. So it didn't just fall on me solely. So again, in that situation, it would disrupt what I had going on. So I tried, not to try, I delegated a lot of that process. So that's kind of how I handle things as a whole. But that was something that threw a monkey wrench in what I had going on. Because one day I actually did have to devote to taking care of my mom because nothing was prepped and ready. So yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, in the field that I'm in, everything or most things are an urgent decision because, we will find something. We will find, oh, I don't know, a glove in a batch, which, yes, I've seen happen. Or, there being metal in a batch, or something being out of spec, and we have to react immediately and say, okay, shut it down, let us investigate before you pack it out, before you send it out. And
Yeah, I think circumstances are often going to dictate, right, things, right, and the situations that we're in. Obviously, I was sharing stories when we were in the room. I said, when you're operating nuclear reactors, there's a lot of urgency that can come into play when things are happening, right? But if you're just planning a trip overseas, then there's not a like, oh, I got to make this decision now, right? We've got time that you're making this decision out for, but there's always going to be some list of constraints that we're going to be put on, right? I think Craig was talking about this, right? I mean, the tonality, the body language, the circumstances, deadlines versus non-deadline type stuff throws in all of these variables, right? That either create an urgent motion to make a decision or a non-urgent motion to make a decision, and uh, we have to discern ourselves. Like, is it at that point? Some of the things that we put in there, as far as constraints, are. Is this cost like the other day? I could have left that water run for the next 30 or 40 minutes, but it probably would have cost me thousands of dollars at that point, right? Versus just calling the plumber who put the piping in to come fix the leak, right? And stuff. So, thousands of dollars in a business, it might be hundreds of thousands or
yeah,
millions of dollars, right? I said the other thing is somebody going to die from this or get hurt or injured from this, right? Those are
mhm.
as Pam's got her hand up, right? She's like, those are constraints. We don't want people dying, right?
And
And so we have to realize what's the circumstance in front of us before we can figure out which option are we taking, an urgent path or a non-urgent path. Pam, go ahead.
So my example was at the former position where they wanted first responders training, which was free through the fire department, but we had multiple lockout violations in which I was already working on internal corrective actions. However, we needed a subject expert. So I pushed for train the trainer and lockout tagout, which was myself. And I took the hard numbers to the GM and got those two trainings flip-flopped for lockout tagout trainer to go first due to potential fatality happening in the plant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share something here. Sending a message to Jeff, so he's got some information for this next breakout. Let's get back to this, right? And so, I think there are definitely things, and this is not all inclusive. You may have talked about other stuff in your rooms, right? Time is obviously a thing, right? If you're out driving and somebody cuts you off, you don't have moments. You've got split seconds to make a decision, right? High emotional activation. I mentioned Array. I said if your kids are in a situation that they're getting hurt or whatever else, there might be some emotional activation as to how you're making that decision, right? And how quickly you're making that decision to maybe even put yourself in danger, right? While those things are occurring, right? And rely on instinct and experience. The more we know about things, the better we can respond in urgent situations. I go back to the nuclear reactor thing, right? I studied the way we studied. We learned what we learned. We taught people the way we taught them, so that when an alarm went off or when something occurred, right, that urgent decisions could be made, because we didn't have time to sit around and go, let's talk about this for 45 minutes or 50 minutes and see what happens with the reactor while we're sitting here trying to make a decision, right? And so the more information we know, the more knowledge and experience we have, the better we can react, right? Clarity of purpose matters, right? Asking yourself, is what I'm about to do going to get me closer to where the ultimate goal of what I'm trying to achieve, right? It is always a question we should be talking about, whether it's a long-term plan or something I got to do today or make today, right? And then post-decision reflection. Carla and I were talking about this a little bit in our room, and as well, Craig and Brandy, right? I said, I think collectively we all sit around and we're really good at, like, when something doesn't go right, that we sit around and go, man, what could I have done differently, right? What could I have done better, or what did I do wrong? And Brandy or Carla, say, hey, the way to frame that is how can we make ourselves better, right? And for sure, there's a mindset issue there, but we do great at reflection when things don't go right. But when things go great, I don't think we're great about sitting down and go, what made this go so smooth? And how can we capture those ideas so that it goes that way every time that we do it, right? Or every time we make decisions that are similar to that, right? And so there's definitely some nuances between the urgent and non-urgent decisions, right? And I'm going to draw your attention to the one. There's two things on the right: non-urgent decisions. While non-urgent decisions often give us the opportunity to look at different options, right? It can also provide the complexity of paralysis by or analysis. What am I saying? Paralysis by analysis, right?
Analysis paralysis.
We get too much information, and then we're like, now I can't make a decision at all, right? And then the last one there being, what are our values telling us, right? And this should really be on both sides, that when we're making decisions, that what are my values? What are my beliefs? What are my thoughts on this entire thing, right? And so we're going to go to a second breakout room here in a second.
Rodney, can I jump in a second?
Absolutely.
You've got half of the Eisenhower box there. I think most of us are aware of what that is. The two columns of urgent and
non-urgent.
And urgent, not urgent, important, not important, and urgent, important is something that you have to deal with. Ray highlighted the perfect example of important but not urgent. That's how he can keep everything under control. I think that combination, we get too caught up in the urgent boxes or non-urgent versus the importance is the critical thing, as you mentioned with the nuclear sub issues.
Yes. Yeah. And absolutely. And you're absolutely true. I didn't, when I was putting this all together, I wasn't purposely trying to put the Eisenhower box together, right? Or anything, but it is true, Dave. It is true that when we identify that importance versus non-important and urgent versus non-urgent, it allows us to control what's controllable, right? and have very little that we have to react to, right? And stuff. Go ahead, Brian.
One thing that, when I'm making a decision, especially like at work and it's urgent, we need to shut something down. I find that a lot of times the urgent decision is continue production or shut it down. And then once we've done that, then everything else becomes a little bit more non-urgent. You can kind of investigate and go from there and do, your other decision making from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I appreciate all the business insight, guys, right? But I would suspect that if we start looking at this, we use these in our everyday lives with our kids and our wives and the decisions that we make. What do you want for dinner? Well, if it's 5:30, it's kind of urgent, right? We got to figure out what we're doing for dinner. If we ask that question earlier on the day because we're like Ray and we planned on what we want to do, right? We might know by noon what we're having for dinner, right? And whatever was in the freezer was laid out to thaw up or whatever. I mean, all of those things can play a part into our decision-making processes and how we can plan for things. And I would tell you, the more we can, I don't want to, back in the day, all of us are old enough to realize, be like Mike, right? Everybody remembers that phrase, right? Be like, if more of us were like Ray and we planned appropriately, right, we would have less urgent decisions that were taking place in our lives for sure. And so we're going to go to breakout here. And this is really, we can lower the numbers down, Jeff, if you can, on the breakout rooms. I know I'm going to make that difficult for you. But we're going to do 10 minutes, right? 2 to 3 people is perfect, man. And I want everyone to hopefully get a chance to think about, like, what is a decision right now that's looming over your head? All right, maybe it's some roles that you've been applying to and you're trying to figure out, are they right for me? Are they not right for me, right? Maybe it's a family thing that's going on and you're trying to figure out, what do we need to do or what's the appropriate actions going forward or whatever. And so I really kind of want to walk through the 4C model, we call it, right? Clarify, consider, choose, and then calibrate it, right? Which is really just reflecting on the decision to help refine it at the end. But today I want to see if we can work through this whole clarify and then consider some of the options that might be there, right, as we move forward. And then we'll come back and hopefully some of you will be willing to share maybe how that has helped you refine what is going to go on or some of the decisions you need to make, right? When we look at clarifying, we need to understand what's the real decision being made, considering, like, what do you know? What do you need to know yet, right? Who should weigh in? What options exist out there? Those are all questions that we want to answer. We're not going to get through all 4 of these in 10 minutes, right? But I think if we can help each other clarify and maybe consider some options, right, we're all going to walk away with something that is hopefully valuable to us today. So, Jeff, are you good?
I'm good. Ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready. We're going to go for about 10 minutes. Here's a screenshot real quick if you want. Write down the decisions. And then, like I said, we're just going to go through the consider piece. We're not going to get through the choosing and calibrate side of this. So
I have reshuffled these many times, and there's 2 or 3 people in a room, and I apologize if you end up with somebody that you know so well that you can talk their side of the conversation.
If you don't like them, come back here. I'll talk to you.
I'll erase all that.
I'll delete all that out of it, dude.
All right, they're all coming back. I'll tell you later.
Hey, Jeff, has anyone told you that those gun targets make you kind of look aggressive?
Yes, I've heard this.
He's a gangster.
Think they make him look cool.
I'm compensating for something for what I have no idea.
I want to be like Jeff.
Nobody wants to be like me.
And I
Except with hair, right?
Right. Yeah. Jeff without the burns, the sunburns.
Yeah. So, so what are we finding out here? Like, was anybody able to help refine what their question is, or what their decision is that they need to make? Nobody.
No, hey Rodney, this is Daniel.
What'd you guys talk about then?
I was in the room with Dustin, and it turns out that Dustin and I are kind of in the same position where we've been unemployed for a while now, and the places that we've been applying to, they kind of with the target positions we've been looking for, nothing is going, and so we're at the point now where we've just got to go get anything that might be available, and so that was just. Even though he's in a different city from where I am, he's just kind of sharing here's some of the things that we got that we can do. And then I didn't realize that we were coming back so soon. So we're going to reach back out to connect offline after the meeting.
Yeah. And that's part of this, right? Like, I knew we aren't going to solve world hunger today, right? But it is, hopefully, maybe you made a connection with the person that was in the room with you, and you're like, man, they might be able to help me solve some of this problem that I'm having. And I would also, encourage all of us, like, if you're refining that question, right, we got to also ask, like, how do we get into this position, right? How do I get into this position in the first place, and how can I go back and fix something that maybe I did or didn't do a year ago or 2 years ago to make sure that I'm not back in this position? And listen, I'm not saying layoffs, let goes, downsizes, right sizes are anybody's fault. I'm just saying they happen, right? Darcy was on last week. Darcy landed, right? I think Manu's here too, and I think Manu's come to this realization too, right? One of the things many people have done over the last 10, 20 years is that they network, they get a job, and then they stop networking. Mm-hmm. Right. And Darcy made the mention last week. He says, one thing I've learned from this experience, right, is that I am not letting these relationships in this room go, because I know 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, I'm probably going to be back in the same position, trying to look for the next role, next job, next opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that my relationships that I've built are here, and I don't have to go rebuild the whole empire again. Right. And so maybe that's the question we need to be asking ourselves, right? Maybe that's a decision that we need to be looking at making and stuff. And so anybody else, any other comments or additions here? We don't have a whole lot of time left. So I mean, today was one, just kind of, diving into this process of decision making, knowing that there's nuances between what I'm faced with right now in my face, right, or what I could be faced with a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now. And the processes and the things that we need to do are the same thing, right? We need clarity. We need alignment with what our values are and our beliefs are when we make a decision. And the more information and knowledge and experience we have, right, typically the more equipped I am, and maybe even the faster I can make those decisions to come to play, right? When I'm blind, though, sometimes I just don't know what I don't know, right? It becomes difficult to make decisions. And Brandy and I, we had a conversation earlier. I said, not every time that you're faced with a decision are you going to have every bit of information.
That rarely happens.
It rarely happens, right? And so then it becomes, how do I discern myself to go, okay, what are the probabilities, right? What are the consequences? If I go this way, what's going to happen? If I go this way, what could possibly happen? And you can start to figure out what might be the best option at that point, and hopefully provide yourself an off-ramp, right? An off-ramp being that if I start heading down this path and I realize, oh my gosh, I'm heading towards catastrophe, that I have a way to exit and hopefully re-enter the ramp in the right direction that I need to go. Okay. And so again, we're not solving world hunger, but hopefully we gave you some framework today to work through and use as you're making decisions in the near future, right? And so next week, we've got Leadership Reflection Workshop 250. Because we are celebrating 250 years in the United States, I want to take all the lessons from being the leader in the room, to the communication exercise, to the conversations that we had today about decision making, and do some reflection, like I said, on our forefathers and our founding fathers, on how maybe some of the struggles that we are experiencing, they probably experienced too, but probably way worse because they didn't have things like this right here, right? That they could go do things with. After that, we've got the day of unanswerable questions. It is going to be a rapid succession. Ask me the craziest questions, not just me, but we're going to ask each other the craziest questions to get to know each other a little bit better and hopefully create that interaction. And then we're going to go into a whole month of technology adaptation and future skills for people, right? So last note, it's Tuesday. It's the last of June. We are celebrating 250 years as a nation, right? Hopefully you guys have some safe holiday plans and excitement for you and your families, right? Go out there, have a great week, everybody. And remember, I love you guys, all right?
Rodney, I want to say thank you for your service as a veteran.
Oh, thank you, Carlo.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, dear.
Yes. Thank you.
Have a good week. Have a happy and safe 4th.